Hi and Assalamualaikum Dr. Hussain. I am pleased to present my research titled Singapore Cybersecurity Policy and they are relevant for regional cooperation in Southeast Asia. This research explores whether Singapore's cybersecurity model can help strengthen the cybersecurity framework across ASEAN countries. In today's presentation, I will explain the research focus, the theories I used, the detailed literature review and why this research is important for Southeast Asia. My research focused on one main question: can Singapore's cybersecurity strategies can adapt to improve cybersecurity cooperation in ASEAN? This question is very important because Southeast Asia cyber threat, like ransomware, hacking and data breaches, do not stop at national borders. A cyber attack in one country can quickly affect neighboring country, especially because our data system, financial network and communication are closely connected. This research is significant because ASEAN countries need to cooperate to protect themselves from this shared threat, but they also wanted to maintain their national sovereignty and independence. Next, I'm going to talk about the theoretical framework. This research used three important theories. First, regional security complex theory, RSCT. Second, cyber resilience theory. And lastly, policy transfer theory. Each of these theories help us to understand the complex cybersecurity situation in ASEAN and how Singapore's leadership fits into this picture. The first theory is Regional Security Complex Theory or RSCT. This theory explains that countries in the same region like ASEAN countries are often linked by common security threats. Their security is connected because they are shared borders, economies and technology system. For example, if a cyber attack target Malaysia's banking system, it can spread quickly to Singapore or Indonesia because their financial network are linked. This is why RSCT means by regional interdependence. In RSCT, powerful country can lead the security response. In Southeast Asia, Singapore is seen as a cybersecurity leader because it has the most advanced policy and infrastructure. However, RSCT also reminds us the smallest ASEAN country may feel uncomfortable if they think Singapore's leadership is too dominant. ASEAN countries highly value sovereignty, means they want to control their own decision. Singapore has been careful with this. It promotes voluntary cooperation through tools like the ASEAN Cyber Norms Checklist developed with Malaysian. Instead of pushing for strict building agreement, Singapore approach respect the ASEAN way, which is based on consensus and non-interference. This shows how RSC is important for understanding Singapore's roles in regional cybersecurity, control their own decision. The second theory is cyber resilience theory. This theory teaches that in today's world, it is important to prevent all the cyber attacks. No system can be 100% secure. What is more important is how quickly a system can defend, respond to, and recover from an attack. Cyber resilience focuses on preparing for attacks, building strong recovery system, and minimizing damage. Singapore has built a very resilient security system after the serious Health Data Branch in 2018. Singapore introduced strict laws including the Cyber Act in 2018 which requires companies to report incidents and protect critical infrastructure like hotel, banks and transportation system. Singapore also regularly conducts national cyber exercise such as the Singapore International Cyber Week SICW and Cyber Security Defense Exercise CIDEX to test its resilience. But unfortunately, many ASEAN countries such as Cambodia, Laos and Myanmar lack this level of preparation. Some do not have strong incident response team or cyber emergency procedures. This creates a big gap in ASEAN regional resilience. Cyber resilience theory is useful because it helps us to understand that ASEAN cannot only focus on prevention, it must build systems that can recover quickly after an attack, just like Singapore has done. The third theory is policy transfer theory. This theory explains how countries can learn from each other's policy. Sometimes countries directly copy policy from others, but this often fails because different countries have different law, culture and levels of resources. In most cases, countries must adapt the policy to fit their local situation. This is called hybridization. For example, Indonesia has adapted part of Singapore's cybersecurity model, especially the risk-based update system. However, Singapore has combined combine this idea with American-style data protection laws, which by Farah and Salma in 2014. This shows that Indonesia did not simply copy Singapore's policy. They changed them to match Indonesian legals and cultural environment. Policy transfer theory helps us understand that Singapore's cybersecurity model cannot be fully copied by ASEAN countries. Instead, Singapore's system should be seen as a flexible template the other country can customize to fit their own needs and capacities. Next, I'm going to talk about the literature review. The first article I review is by Trandai and Gomez in 2018. They found that ASEAN countries prefer voluntary cybersecurity norms instead of strict treaties. This is because ASEAN countries want to protect their sovereignty. This supports my research because it shows why Singapore leadership is based on promoting non-binding agreement like the ASEAN Cyber Norms Checklist. Singapore's leader works because it respects ASEAN countries' desire from independence while still promoting regional cooperation. Next, the second article by Dylan and Tan in 2023 shows that ASEAN has a major cybersecurity workforce shortage. They create two indexes. The first one is Cyber Education Preparedness Index, CEPI, and the second is the Cyber Industry Preparation Index, CP, to measure how ready each country is. This research found that Singapore is the most prepared, but many other ASEAN countries lack enough skilled cybersecurity professionals. This is very important because even if Singapore shares its cybersecurity models, ASEAN countries may not be able to adopt it properly unless they develop their own cyber workforce. Dylan and Tan suggest creating an ASEAN Cybersecurity Academy to train professionals across the region. This directly supports the idea that Singapore leadership should also focus on training and capacity building, not just policy sharing. The last article by Farah and Salma in 2024 compares Singapore and Indonesian cybersecurity law. This research shows that Indonesia has adapted some of Singapore policies, such as cybersecurity audits, but Indonesia also changed the policy to fit its own national system. This is a perfect example for policy transfer theory in action. ASEAN countries can learn from Singapore, but they must adjust the policy to their own political, legal, and economic context. This is why regional cybersecurity cooperation must be flexible. Besides the main three articles, other studies support my research. For example, New Good in 2021 documented ransomware attack in Vietnam and Thailand hospital show that healthcare is a very vulnerable sector. Singapore has strong protections in this sector, but other ASEAN countries must strengthen theirs. Yap and Sin in 2022 shows that emerging technologies like AI and blockchain offer both security opportunity and new risks. Singapore is leading in using this technology, but most ASEAN countries are left behind. And lastly, Liu and Prasan in 2023 explained that geopolitical pressure from the US and China also influenced ASEAN cybersecurity choices. Singapore's neutral diplomacy showed that it's possible to build regional cybersecurity strengths while carefully managing great power competitions. In conclusion, Singapore's cybersecurity policy are strong, well-structured, and resilient. However, my research shows that other ASEAN countries cannot simply copy Singapore's system. Instead, Singapore's model should serve as a flexible guide that can be adapted to each country's needs. The theory and literature review confirm that successful regional cooperation must respect national sovereignty, build cyber workforce capacity, protect critical sector, and carefully manage policy transfer. Singapore can lead this process by continuing to offer training, share best practice, and promote non-binding agreements that encourage ASEAN unity. Thank you, Dr. Hussain.